Hey guys, Ty here. After a long, intense day yesterday that has seen tornadoes spanning through Middle Tennessee, devastating the area all the way throughout the southeast through the overnight hours even, we still have more to go here with another slight risk issue for today, including parts of the mid-Atlantic, the 5% tornado threat and the 15% wind threat as well. Not to mention, there's also a wintry side to the system that's dropped a decent amount of snow over towards the northern tiers of the Midwest here is expected to really make a big impact over here towards the Northeast over the course of the next day or so. Stay tuned. It's getting busy. Hey everyone, Tyre Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing alright. It's been a crazy weekend for weather. It's been a crazy weekend in general. That was pretty wild, I'm not gonna lie. But we aren't done yet, so we're still here. I also want to say thank you to everyone who dropped super chats. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, and just tuned in general, because it was a wild one. But the thing is, like I said, we aren't done, so make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and also hit that share button, because there's still plenty more to cover. Before we get into that, of course, we're going to look at the numbers from yesterday. It's pretty much a full-on severe weather and tornado outbreak at this point. Had filtered reports here. We have 23 tornado reports. We have 50 hail reports. To think that hail was the dominant threat in December is kind of crazy, just saying that. 50 hail reports, wow. And then 32 wind reports as well. Not to mention, 4 of those hail reports were reports of hail above 2 inches in diameter. Absolutely insane what this storm system has done so far. But this was a pretty large scaling outbreak. I do urge any of you that are able to donate to the people in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Clarksville, and Dredson here, because they got hit pretty hard. And then we still don't know really the scope of the damage of the tornadoes that occurred overnight towards Mississippi, Alabama, even Florida here. So if you have it in you, definitely would urge you to donate here. You obviously aren't obligated to, but thought I'd at least try to see if you could be motivated. I could motivate you into it. But anyway, on December 10th, how ironic, what a date, nearly 2 years to the day. Had a setup similar to this, but similar to what we saw yesterday in a very similar area, but we also have severe weather on tap for today as well. This entails a 5% tornado threat. This is not including the Dothan area that has storms ongoing right now in this area at the time of the video, but we have to watch over towards North Carolina, Virginia, and parts of even South Carolina as well. Tornado and wind threat are the main threats here. The hail threat is less than 5%. Storms will probably be firing earlier in the afternoon and maybe lasting a little bit into the late afternoon. But this isn't going to be a long duration event. Definitely nothing like what yesterday should be, but don't be surprised to see a few tornadoes there. And then also, here's the wintry side of the system. Before it became a severe weather setup yesterday for the deep south here and parts of the Ohio Valley here, it did drop a fair amount of snow over here towards the Dakotas here, especially North Dakota, where we were seeing a couple pockets of about 6 to 10 inches, maybe even a foot in the northwestern regions of North Dakota here. And then this is actually going to come into play for the Northeast soon enough. This is from another system because we were looking back about 72 hours. But fact of the matter is, this is going to drop some notable snow over here towards the Northeast here, especially towards the interior Northeast. This could even include parts of the big cities like New York and Philadelphia. Boston could see a little bit of action here. Mostly going to be expecting rain for some of these areas though. But we'll get into the details with that in just a moment here. Here's some probabilities of seeing snowfall above 2 inches. And really things don't pick up until Monday morning here, where we see the probability really jump up from about 60 to 70% all the way up to 80 to 90%. If I can get this to show, there we go. And then if we go to the next slide here, go to 18Z, we have that probability almost at 100% here towards northern New York, especially towards the Atrium-Dax region. And then as we continue to go on here, I don't know why this is struggling so bad. We continue to see those probabilities kind of stretch a little bit further off to the south a little bit here, getting close to New York City, but doesn't quite make it there. So depending on if you love snow or you hate snow, this could be good or bad news for you. I think Philly, for the most part, is going to end up staying out of the action almost entirely here as far as 2 inches of snow are concerned. Wouldn't be surprised if you got traces of snow, though. And then by the time we get towards Tuesday afternoon, a lot of this is starting to move out. Could be a little bit of remnant lake effect snow left over. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see that. But by the time we get into Tuesday night, a lot of this system will have cleared out. So here's a look at what our upper level winds are doing here. This will be right around the time the severe weather gets going. I want you to make note of the wind barbs where we're seeing this direction begin to take shape here. We'll see, we see a lot of the winds kind of going in this direction here. So when we combine that with the low level jet, we'll shift to that real quick. Almost exited out. But if you were to look at where I had that arrow right here, right around the time the storms are expected to fire, you can see that the lower level winds or low level jet is going this way. So this is an indicator of turning of winds with height. So with that, of course, would come the threat of damaging winds and tornadoes if you have lift and if you have instability, which we have both of those. So one thing to make note of here is the fact that we also have good moisture returns as well with our current system. Got to go back a little bit. So this is right around the time the storms would fire here. We have those dew points in the mid 60s, definitely alarming to see that. And then also there's going to be sufficient temperatures here. And also on the wintry side here, let's go ahead and talk about that as well real quick while we have the dew points here. Like I said, make note that you don't need rich dew points, because rich dew points usually bring warmer temperatures. You want cold air when it comes to snow, and you can see that cold air rushing in, but we still have those dew points near the mid 30s, so this is going to be enough moisture available to where we'll have snow. Once you get into those mid 20s, you start to lose some that potential a little bit. But that cold air is going to be in place and it's going to catch up to the moisture, or at least based off what the models are showing, and the chance of snow is going to be a little bit higher, of course. Just how much moisture is left over and how much cold air will reach over towards areas like New York, let's say, is going to be the question. Is going to be a big determining factor as to whether or not you get any snow at all, or maybe about an inch. It's not really even going to be a long duration event. It's not going to be a long lasting event by any stretch here. Like I said, more often than not, the moisture will typically outrun the cold here. And this will likely be the case for some of us over here towards the coast. So here's our severe weather setup here. Here's that warm air starting to work its way into the mid-Atlantic here. And then as we go towards the nighttime, we can see this cold air working its way in. By Monday morning, we can see those lower 30s starting to take shape here. And those below freezing temperatures are going to be just what we need to get the snow machine rolling here. As we continue to go here, we'll see that cold air really start to take over as we go Monday night into Tuesday morning here. By the afternoon, though, it looks like we do start to get back above freezing. So whatever snow has fallen is likely to melt within the next day or two after the event. So going to our severe weather setup, there's a couple of different parameters we can look at here. We look at mixed layer cape and you're probably going to think, okay, this isn't going to be a super impressive look, because yesterday we were seeing blues and yellows, even at a couple of different spots, a little bit more instability available. That's basically what that meant. But if you look at what we see on the mixed layer cape here, it's not like this isn't completely benign here. We do have cape values that are getting towards about 700, even a couple 800s, 850 here. Put it in perspective for you, about 500 joules per kilogram is enough to get a pretty strong thunderstorm going here. You go above 700 joules per kilogram and 800, you could start to get into that severe weather threshold here. And we do start to reach that. There is even a chance that a couple areas could make it up to 1,000 joules per kilogram. Put in perspective for you, yesterday's severe setup had a lot of areas where we're at about 1,500 joules per kilogram. So it's not like it can't happen. It's a little less likely, but here's something that will kind of get your attention a little bit more. And that's looking at the Energy Helicity Index, or the EHI. It's a more common term with storm chasers. You're not going to hear this on your local news, but the EHI, as its acronym is, shows how much energy is in the atmosphere, just like CAPE does. It's another way of reading CAPE. And to put it in perspective for you, anything above a 1 is usually a good threshold for severe weather. And we see 1.3s and 1.4s here. And then if I click on this here, look what we have here. We look at the skew T chart, and guess what the probable hazard type is? Tornado. While this doesn't guarantee anything, look what we have here if we look at our instability all of a sudden. Surface CAPE is at almost 1,200 joules per kilogram. So you got to know. So if anyone's interested in forecasting, you got to kind of know the ins and outs here. What one map may not show you, you have to look at all the other maps, because sometimes it doesn't always tell the full story here. And then with the kinematics here, the wind pattern being as it is, it's always a sign of trouble whenever you see the 0 to 3 kilometer here, or this red line, or red pinkish line going up at this angle like this and then looping out like that. It means there's potential for maybe a discrete supercell or two. Also means that there could be potential for a tornado or two as well. So like I said, doesn't mean anything that we don't necessarily have high CAPE events. During December, that's actually very common if you do have severe weather to have high shear, low CAPE events, and this was one of them. Yesterday was actually an example of it. So the next thing we're going to do, of course, is look at the timing for this, and then we'll switch over to the wintry side of things. You can still see those storms holding strong here at this point. If I can get this to go here. Apologize for this. Computer's been a little bit overworked since yesterday, so should have guessed this could happen, but I apologize for that. We can get things going now, though, it looks like. Finally starting to load. Yeah, we've been pretty busy with this one as of late. All right, but here we go. Now we can get this moving, maybe. All right, now we got it going here. Sorry about that, you guys. That was crazy. But here we are going into the early afternoon hours here. We're getting towards, let's say, about maybe 1 or 2 o'clock. We do get a little bit of initiation going here. Looks like it's a little bit further to the south starting out here, but have to watch for anything that ends up being discrete, or anything that's going to end up being on the fringes of this line here. Any of those little inflow notches could maybe produce a quick tornado. But it's just really going to be a matter of what time things really start to take shape here. There are a couple of fail parameters. There's going to be a lot of cloud cover over this region, so temperatures may not reach all the way up into the mid 60s here. I do think there's enough warm air out ahead of that to overcome it, but like I said, definitely not expecting to see anything of the magnitude of what we saw yesterday. Definitely hoping that doesn't end up being the case. We all don't want to see that again. It's pretty devastating. But switching now over to the wintry side of things. Already kind of get a sneak preview of what that snow shield looks like. Throughout the day today, we're mainly going to start as rain. We're a little too warm. But this also probably will be a saving grace for some of us, some of you guys over here. But as this low begins to develop and that cold air starts to sneak in behind it, we begin to see the changeover occur towards the interior northeast. And then as we get into the late overnight hours here, those temperatures really start to drop. This is when that snow shield really starts to take over here and hangs around throughout a large chunk of the morning. So this is where we're going to see a lot of our snow accumulation occurring here. Like I said, Philly and New York City are likely to see snow, but accumulation is going to be on the minimal side of things, because for the most part, the majority of the moisture is going to outrun the cold here. Not to say that you can't see up to maybe ½ an inch, but it's rather unlikely. I wouldn't expect to see much of anything. A lot of it just won't be able to stick. But what I'm concerned about is the refreezing of moisture that will already be on the ground. The refreezing of moisture is going to be a big deal, and then also the winds too. The winds may keep the ground dry here, hopefully. Let's hope that that's the case, because any moisture on the ground, of course, with that cold air combined, will refreeze. But if we can get this to go our way here, because I've seen this happen here in my own area, what will happen is the wind will actually dry the ground off much quicker by the time the majority of that cold air comes in. So here are the wind gusts that we could be seeing throughout the day today. I'm trying to get this thing to work again. Okay, there we go. I was about to say, are we dealing with more glitching? Because you can hear the computer in the background probably. That just shows how hard we've been working here. But you can see that the wind gusts are already pretty high throughout the day tomorrow. But look what happens once that low begins to deepen, especially off coast here. We could see some 60-mile-per-hour gusts here as we head into Monday here. Start to see some 20, 30, even some 40-mile-per-hour gusts as we get into Monday morning. And the gusts only increase actually throughout the day here. So we could see plenty of widespread 30, 35-mile-per-hour gusts here. Could even see some wind advisories issued across this area. But our hope is that this will dry out the ground at the end of the day. It's going to make for an uncomfortable day on Monday, but if this ends up being the case, the main thing you'll have to do is bundle up, and you should still be able to get out on the roadways without much issue. Although the infrastructure here is okay when it comes to winter weather, you always want to be sure. But I guess the last thing we'll go into here is what the snowfall totals kind of look like at this point. So a bunch of models to look at over here. We have the NAM 3 kilometer, of course, which is the main one we've been looking at. And of course, the main winner right here is going to be over towards AREN. And then, of course, there's a couple pockets over here just on the southern valleys here where we may get up to about maybe, let's say, 6 to 8 inches according to this model. Widespread 2 to 4 inches possible here. A couple of pockets could see higher totals, especially towards higher elevations, of course. And then throughout the mountains is going to be, also the Appalachians is going to be pretty impressive totals here. 2, 4, 6, maybe even up to 10 inches of snow. Could be possible. Not sure if I'm fully on board with that, because the other models are kind of showing some different things here. We have pockets where we see up to about maybe 6 inches, 8 inches, maybe even 10 inches, 12, a foot possible in some spots. Further north you go, though, the higher the totals, which is pretty typical for this time of year. Look at the euro. It's pretty much a similar deal. It's the latest euro, by the way. We outside the mountains here, we have only a few areas that actually get about 6 inches plus of snow in the valleys. But notice, like I said before, Philadelphia, New York City, Long Island, not going to really see much in the way of accumulation here. And that's pretty much persistent across all the models. A lot of consistency. The GFS is what brings the snow closest to you. But it's just one model out of many, and even then it still looks like you end up being stifled here, which is good or bad news depending on if you're a fan of snow or not. So let me know in the comments there if you happen to be in this area looking. But NAM 3 kilometer stifles you as well, so the NAM is going to be not much different here. Like I said, maybe up to a trace amount of snow would be possible, but we'll just have to see how things play out with that. Then, of course, last but not least, we look at the National Weather Service blend of models. This is looking all the way through on Tuesday, just like with the others. Like I said, New York, New York City, not really going to see much of anything. Really, it's more so towards the mountains, interior northeast, Poconos. Could see some pretty impressive totals here. But this one in particular is showing more of a happy medium, consistent with the 6 to 8 inch totals that we could see over towards the northeast. And then over towards the mountains, there's locally higher totals of about maybe even a foot possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. Sure you guys are smashing that like button. If you're new, definitely hit that subscribe button. Definitely consider it. And then, of course, hit that share button. If you're new around here also, and you just subscribed from yesterday's stream, we do videos like this all the time. So just stay tuned, stay updated. But that being said, I'll see you guys later this afternoon. We'll be making a video for what lies ahead in the longer term and going from there. But until then, it's been Tyre Metalhead Weatherman. You guys take care. Have an awesome day and see you soon.